Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the James Stevens Podcast. This is episode number 146, dedicated to a man who on October 26th, 1982, became the first pitcher to win four Cy Young Awards, Mr. Steve Carlton. And as always, thank you for listening again, downloading to another episode of the podcast. On today's episode, we talked a little bit about Antonio Brown being back in the National Football League. The Indiana Pacers hired who? And also why I think there should always be doubleheaders on Monday night in the NFL. But first, Saturday. College football was fun. The Big Ten was back, finally joined the party. And there was a team by the name of Indiana Hoosiers who reside in Bloomington, Indiana, that did the unthinkable Saturday evening in Memorial Stadium. Every single year, Indiana football is an afterthought in Indiana. I live in Indianapolis, as many of you know. My mom went to Indiana University, graduate from that school. A lot of her best friends she also met there, graduated from that school. It's a basketball school. Indiana basketball is way better, gets way more attention, is expected to make the tournament every year, expected to make noise in the Big Ten every year because Bobby Knight helped build this mindset that Indiana basketball is that special. That's what they should do every single year. Well, over the past 3 to 4 years, they've got a guy by the name of Tom Allen, former high school football coach at Ben Davis High School in Indianapolis, Indiana, and he has been building to this point for the past few years, beating a ranked team, beating a top 10 team via the AP poll, and doing it in a way that is the unthinkable. A lot of people going into Saturday's matchup between Penn State and Indiana, many people didn't think Indiana had a shot at beating Penn State. Now, yes, the Penn State has lost Micah Parsons. Journey Brown is out indefinitely. So there are some holes on offense and via defense that Penn State would have to make up for and would have to find a way to fill that hole, the big hole that is, from the running back and a linebacker position. Indiana's like, hey, look, I don't care who Penn State puts on the field. We got this. I don't care what happens right now. We got this. They have a quarterback in Michael Penix who is running his mouth. And I made a comment on Twitter and during the game that, I commented to someone's tweet about how he may lose his job based on how he has played because Michael Penix had played bad for a while. And I'm like, hey, look, Michael Penix, I get Tom Allen believes in you. I get you believe in you. I believe there's a guy I believe it's Coach Wright that's on the offensive coaching staff of Indiana, another former high school football coach in Indiana that won numerous state championships in Indiana that believes in you. Hey, look, I get it. They all believe in you. But sir, I'm watching you play. It's not fun. It's not enjoyable. Just stop running your mouth, realize you're not as good as you say you are, and just go on with the day. Lo and behold, what happened? Indiana got down. I believe they were down 21-20, I believe. And then Penn State got a run up the middle. IU, as the nickname we call it here locally, IU just part of the Red Sea. Granted, it was good blocking. I got to admit, it was good blocking. But once the running back got to the second level, late in the fourth quarter, IU just got away, ran away. We don't want to be around you right now. Run into that end zone, score that touchdown so we can get the ball back and we can have a shot to go into overtime. Well, Penn State scores. Indiana scores again. It goes into overtime. First overtime, very first one. Penn State scores. They go up a touchdown. Indiana scores. First possession in overtime. First overtime. So it's spicy. I'm on the edge of my seat. Like, ooh, will they do it? Ooh, will they do it? And lo and behold, what happens? Michael Penix, the guy that I was critical of, that other people have been critical of, based off his play. Michael Penix scrambles left, runs outside, knowing two-point conversion. They don't go for a field goal. They go for two. Two-point conversion. Runs left, goes outside, has to elude a tackler, has to dive for the end zone. It was very controversial. Even right now, as I'm rewatching, the game is on TV right now as I'm recording this at this point in time, a little replay of it. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if it's good or bad. But as I saw, I said the tip of the ball hit out of bounds before hitting the pylon. What I didn't realize in my head, the ball crossed the pylon before going out of bounds. Therefore, the call on the field stood. Touchdown, 2-point conversion is good. Indiana beats Penn State. Indiana, I believe, is better than advertised. Not saying they're one of the top teams in the Big Ten. But I believe they are better than advertised. And hats off. Yeah, no. We got to do this. Tom Allen deserves this right here. Tom Allen deserves that. Yes, he does. Tom Allen, head coach of Indiana, the football team Hoosiers. Very happy for you. You've been building to this point in time, beating a top 10 team via the AP poll for the first time since 1987. And Indiana beating a big team like this, there's a good shot they could have back-to-back winning seasons for the first time, I believe, since the 90s. Indiana Hoosier football, love to see stuff like this happen. We all love to see stuff like this happen. We may see more fireworks week 1 of the Pac-12 season in a week or two. Let's go ahead and take a trip to Tampa, Florida, because they have brought a guy in by the name of Antonio Brown, and I'm kind of scratching my head. Unfortunately, too many times when someone hears the name Antonio Brown, they think of something negative that he did. It could be something negative on the field, in the locker room, or off the field. But the first thing on their mind is something negative regarding Antonio Brown. At the same time, there are people out there, and you may be somebody in this category, that when they hear the name Antonio Brown, they think of something positive. May it be his elite route running, and watch him, go back and watch film, go to the YouTube, it'll be your best friend right now. You'll realize Antonio Brown's route running is elite. May it be his elite hands. May it be that he's just a straight dog on the football field. And we all know you need dogs on the field to win football games. That's no question about it. You need those. May it be the way that he works out. I mean, you could go on and on and on about the good things regarding Antonio Brown, the football player. There are also people that believe Antonio Brown has no place in football and they don't want him anywhere around their organization. Bruce Arians doesn't fall inside of that camp. No, sirree, Bob. Bruce Arians talked to some people inside of the Buccaneers organization, said, hey, would this be a good fit? Would this be a good opportunity for us to bring in a guy who we know is a great talent, just has some things that he does off the field, and he give you a cancer in the locker room? Should we bring him in based off the injuries that we have, based off the discussions that they had? The answer to that question was yes. Brought him in on the 24th, and as long as everything goes through as far as him passing COVID-19 protocol and some other things that have to be finalized with the contract, Antonio Brown will be playing with the Buccaneers very, very soon. I've always been a person recently when thinking about Antonio Brown, I am wondering, will this work? Will this make sense? Will this be another story where another time where Antonio Brown leaves an organization the way that he did the Pittsburgh Steelers or the way that he did the Oakland Raiders? 2-week hiatus, 2-week, not even a vacation, just 2 weeks up. We're done with you. You're gone. That's a bad relationship, guys. Or would it be the way that he left the New England Patriots all of those times? I don't know. I try to be as optimistic as possible. I try to be as positive as possible. I try to be the guy that when you look at people and people look at me, they're saying, oh, Jay is a voice we can listen to because he's very, very positive and he tries to bring the good out of people. He tries to see the best in people. Yes, sometimes it's not wise to do that. Sometimes you don't get the proper representation of the individual or the party or the people you are speaking of about that at that time. But I do try to be very optimistic throughout the entire offseason, even after the Big Ten decided to cancel or postpone, depending on what language you want to utilize with that conversation about the cancellation or postponement, then bringing the season back. I always tried to be very positive and say they're going to play this year. Did I always know when, or did I always know how, or did I always know who would get involved to help the Big Ten play this year? Not at all. There's no way for me to know that, but I did try to be very, very positive with that. There's things going on all over the place. Kobe Bryant's last basketball game, was I optimistic that he would score 60 points? Not at all. I'll be honest with you. I'm a big Kobe fan. I did not just say this for now, but I got a jersey in my closet. Kobe is my guy. I'm an individual. Go back and listen to Mamba Out or whatever the title was early on in January or February when Kobe Bryant passed away. I mean, Kobe was my guy. When Kobe was on TV, I was watching the game. My mom even called me that day because she knows me and Kobe. It's different, man. That thing hit me different. So I was not optimistic. I'll be honest with you. I didn't think Kobe, after the Achilles injury, after everything he had went through, that Kobe Bryant would come out and put up a 60 bomb to end his career in the Staples Center against the Jazz. I had no idea, didn't think it, wasn't something that was even on my mind, but Kobe Bryant once again did the unthinkable. Antonio Brown to the Buccaneers. You on the surface, you would think, oh, this is Tom Brady. This is Tom Brady doing this. Tom Brady wants another guy, another troubled player, another guy nobody wants to defy the odds. Oh, Tom Brady did this. Tom Brady brought in Corey Dillon. I believe maybe Steven Jackson as well. Don't quote me on that, but for some reason I think Steven Jackson, the old running back, had a cup of coffee with New England as well. He brings in LeGarrette Blount. We all know LeGarrette Blount punched a guy in college. He's a head case. Oh, who else did he brought in Randy Moss. Oh, my goodness. He brought in Chad Ochocinco. Oh, my goodness. He's bringing in all these guys on offense to assist him. Oh, how about this one? They drafted Aaron Hernandez, a gang member, a murderer. He brought him in. He didn't say get rid of him. He said, I'll help him, allow him to help us win. Tom Brady's all about winning. I'm all about winning. I'm all about making adjustments to certain players to allow them to help you win games. There is no thought in my mind to ever have Antonio Brown in a locker room, a part of an organization that I'm a part of. Not at all. We have had way too many stories, way too many instances where Antonio Brown has been a hothead, has been a cancer in the locker room, has been the problem child over and over and over and over again. I'm not talking about the things that surfaced recently, the sexual misconduct allegations and him not paying people, him not paying trainers and getting an aquarium brought into his home and not paying that. I mean, Antonio Brown off the field has so much wrong with him that he has done previously that it may cause you to say, ooh-wee, we don't want that to be a part of our organization. However, me, myself, and I can go away from that. What I see from Antonio Brown on the field, inside the lines, inside the confines of an offense where he is featured, I got no problems with it. None whatsoever. I'm not trying to be a guy that's going back on my word. No, I have no problems with the football player. If it was Antonio Brown, you play football, you work out. You practice with a team, you work out with a team, you get on the field, you do your thing, and then you're done. If that was it, I'm done, y'all. I'm literally washing my hands of this situation, saying I was wrong. I am done with this. Antonio Brown, go on the field, put the jersey on, go play. And I would even, as a Colts fan, would have said, hey, Chris Ballard, go get that man. It's clear T.Y. Hilton is not the receiver that he used to be. The T.Y. Hilton needs to not be featured on the outside. Maybe put him on the inside and bring another guy in that can be featured on the outside. Hey, Chris Ballard, there's a guy out there named AB. You can go get him. You can bring him in. He's an elite talent. His route running, his hands, his elusiveness, the things that make him an elite player, put him in a category of being a dog on the football field or that dude on the football field. You know all these terms that you don't need an explanation for, a dog or a dude. You know who they are. You know when you watch the tape, when you watch the film. On Sunday Night Football, we all know what we saw when DK Metcalf hit the afterburners to catch Buda Baker. And that man, I said on Twitter, I'll say it again. DK Metcalf is too big to move like that. He is a different type of human being. I don't know what he was made from or made of or what he puts in his body. I want some of that because I would love to be able to move like that at that size as well. Antonio Brown, back to Antonio Brown. I can get off on the tangent on a lot of things, but AB, I would not at all bring him with this organization, a part of this team, especially in the middle of the season, especially with speculations of him not playing until wearing a Buccaneers jersey for the first time, which is most likely his debut will be Week 9 against the New Orleans Saints on November the 8th. Right in the heart of the season. Yes, I understand there may be pluses and minuses to bringing him in at that time. However, I also know you bring him in 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, 2 weeks, a month, you may find out exactly what I believe is that Antonio Brown will be a cancer once again, because if he does not get his way, he is one of those wide receivers that will make everyone's life boring and miserable until he gets what he wants. Very similar to the way that he is off the field and how he has been on the field as well. Now, I do know people change. I do know people have a chance to redeem themselves, and they deserve a second, a third, a fourth, whatever you want to say about how many chances people can get or should get, or how many chances you have gotten, or you hope you may get down the road based off things that you have done in your life. But, guys, once again, we're speaking about Antonio Brown. He has shown us time after time after time after time after time again that he can be a bad apple. He can be a problem. He can be a guy that when you think about him, it's not good at all. Bruce Arians said this to Antonio Brown, and I think it's going to be speak volumes about Antonio Brown. If he gets the message, he'll stay. If he doesn't get the message, he'll go. Bruce Arians said this to Antonio Brown, quote, "Be a team player or be gone," end quote. Bruce Arians said it so well, I'm going to end this segment simply reciting that quote once again. Quote, "Be a team player or be gone," end quote. Plutus Sports Analytics is a company based on minimizing the uncertainty of sports betting to help you maximize your profit. Newfoundland's first sports analytics team provides daily predictions for all Major League sports, so you can win big. Whether you want to hit MLB picks out of the park or get a slam dunk on your NBA betting tickets, Plutus is a company of choice. Head to PlutusSportsAnalytics.com. That is PLUTUS sportsanalytics.com and use code JSP10 for 10% off their deadly service. For the next few moments, I'm going to do something that no host should do, but I'm going to do it. It's my show. My name's on it. I'm going to break the rule this particular time and be a fan for the next 7 to 8 minutes instead of the analyst / host that I normally am here on the podcast. The Indiana Pacers, been a Pacers fan my entire life. The Pacers, they have made it very, very clear they're comfortable being a 4, 5, or 6th seed in the playoffs or in the postseason, only getting to the first round, maybe stretch a game out to the first round series to 7 games. You may get a win, you may get a second round appearance, but trying to win a championship, trying to make a splash hire or sign a splash guy via free agency, they don't care. What are you talking about? Not a big deal. Not at all. And so this offseason, via the firing of Nate McMillan, which I have been very, very big on, have been calling for that, via the fandom side of me, not the analyst side of me, maybe the analyst side as well, but the fan in me had been saying Nate McMillan should not have a job with the Indiana Pacers anymore. His track record prior to coming to Indianapolis and being the head coach, and then also his track record while being the head coach of the Pacers, it has shown he'll get you to the playoffs, but don't expect to win the series. So when the firing happened of Nate McMillan, I'm thinking in my head, there are a plethora. There are all these coaches out here that you can go get. That'll literally be a splash. Play people like Doc Rivers, a Ty Lue, who I'm not high on, but it would bring more attention to the franchise and may possibly bring a big-time free agent to your team as well. A Sam Cassell, a Chauncey Billups, a Jeff Van Gundy or a Stan Van Gundy or a Mark Jackson. All of these guys out here that are out here that'll make a splash, that'll be a big name, that'll possibly help bring in more top free agents to your franchise. I mean, the Brooklyn Nets brought in a guy by the name of Steve Nash. I love watching Steve Nash play back when he was playing in the National Basketball Association. A splash hire. You didn't expect it, but you can see that he's well respected around the league by the players, so the signing made sense. I didn't know that he was a consultant prior for the past 5 years with the Golden State Warriors. So once you put that in, yeah, he's already been in a player assistant role, one-on-one role. So it kind of makes sense to bring him in. What else did he do? Brought in his buddy, Amari Stoudemire. So it makes sense. There's things going on with Brooklyn that make sense via the hire. Pacers could have gone out and gotten Chauncey Billups. I believe Chauncey Billups was the lead assistant for the Clippers, but was still open to get a head job with the Pacers. Pacers said no. They could have gotten Ty Lue. Ty Lue's in L.A. They could have got Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers went across the country to Philly. I mean, Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, that sounds sexier. That's more appealing than a Victor Oladipo who wants to leave the franchise. I know he hasn't said that prior to recently, but all offseason, all leading up to the bubble, it sure looked like Victor Oladipo is going to be up out the paint. I had said it. Other guys I know that are friends of the Pacers, they have said it as well. And it sure looks like Oladipo, when his contract is up, it's going to be up out the paint out of Indianapolis. You had so many guys out there that you could get. But as I said earlier, the Pacers are fine with just being okay, just making it to the playoffs. Being not middle of the pack, but middle of the playoff picture, they're fine with that. They're okay with that. To them, a participation trophy is A-OK. And you know what? This hire also goes to another thing that is part of the motto of the Indiana Pacers. They don't want to write big checks for anybody. Nobody. Not one. Now you go back to the Pacers. They didn't bring in Larry Brown in the 90s. They also brought in Larry Bird as well. But since then, Larry Bird, first time coaching. Larry Brown, one of the best coaches out there, no matter if it's college or the NBA. He gets the best out of his players at every time, and I don't know how he does it, but he does it, and he's very, very successful when doing so. But the Pacers don't want to pay nobody. The Pacers don't want to bring in a big-name hire. They don't want to bring in a big-name coach. Nothing. So they get Nate Bjorken. The first time I see that the Pacers bring in Nate Bjorken, I say, who? You signed who to be your head coach? You signed who to lead this team further than Frank Vogel or further than he could do further than Nate McMillan. Who is this guy? I'm glad there's a thing called Wikipedia that assists in situations like this where I am literally just trying to find out who this Nate Bjorken guy is. And also, when I first saw his name, I didn't know how to say it. And you know when you find a name and you're a host of a show, you don't know how to say the guy's name and it's foreign, so spelling things out or sounding things out the way they taught you in elementary school, you can't really do that. Why? Because their way of speaking and the way their words are formed are way different than those of the English language. So I had no idea. I had no idea who Nate Bjorken was. I had no idea who Nate Bjorken, where he came from. All I heard was he was tied to Nick Nurse. And that brought some comfort to me. That brought a smile to my face. But I still don't know who this cat is. Many of you don't know who this guy is. And with that being the case, you're probably saying just like me, hey, Jay, is this going to be good or bad for the Pacers? Right now at this point in time, I don't know. But I'm still in the wait-and-see mode, and I hate the wait-and-see mode, especially when the best player of your team on the Pacers has basically said he wants a max contract. And I know, if you watch the Pacers, follow the Pacers, or look at any research from the Pacers, they ain't want to give that man a max contract. I don't believe it. It would shock me if they do. I'll actually probably come back on the podcast and talk about that very thing. But I'd be very, very shocked if they did. Nate Bjorken, 45 years old, played basketball at Storm Lake High School in Storm Lake, Iowa, played college ball at South Dakota, and also beat Bona Vista as well from 96 to 98. His coaching career started in 2004 as a high school coach at Cactus Shadows High School. And then he got his first head coaching gig in 2013 with the Iowa Energy, and then went on to the Bakersfield Jam. And I mean, a lot of lower stuff, a lot of G League, D League stuff for he's coaching. Only thing I've heard that may make me smile, make me happy, is he's very good at connecting with players. Okay, great. That's cool. Nick Nurse, I didn't expect him to win a championship his first year as a head coach in the National Basketball Association, but he did just take over a franchise that had just fired the current Eastern Conference Finals coach. I think Eastern Conference or NBA, no, excuse me. The current coach of the year was Dwayne Casey. Dwayne Casey got fired. Nick Nurse came in. The rest is history. Very similar to the Golden State Warriors. Golden State was a team that was primed to win. They fired Mark Jackson. I believe that was personal disputes, not things that were happening on the court. Bring in Steve Kerr, and Steve Kerr took them to the next level year after year after year. So there's a chance that Nate Bjorken can't do it. There's always a chance that it'll happen. There's always reason to be optimistic about the hire. But the Indiana Pacers proved to Pacers fans and analysts and people that follow the NBA, they didn't want to hire nobody. You had a chance to get an elite coach or a guy that's well respected in Doc Rivers. You had a chance to get guys that players like, fans not so much in Ty Lue. You could have got a guy that's well respected because he just got out of the NBA and former MVP will probably be a future Hall of Famer very soon. And Chauncey Billups, if he's not in the Hall of Fame already, you could have gotten guys You could have got a guy in Sam Cassell who I think should have gotten the job with the Pacers or should have gotten a head coaching job. And I understand there is a time period that some guys, they may put their name in a coaching candidacy and then say, "Oh, I'm done. I don't want to do it anymore." I get that. But you had a chance to get so many other people, so many other players, former players that is, so many other guys out there. I even heard Reggie Miller's name be put out there as a candidate to be the head coach. Excuse me? Reggie Miller? Most of y'all can't stand Reggie Miller when he's calling basketball games. Imagine him on the sidelines as a basketball coach. I'll leave it at that. Pacers, I'm optimistic. I know when you hear Coach speak during the first press conference, it can make you feel some type of way. I loved hearing Joe Judge, the new head coach of the New York Giants, during his first press conference. Matt Rule, I loved hearing him in his first press conference. First season, rough, but Nate Bjorken, basketball country, state of Indiana, you're going to be under the microscope very, very quickly. If you don't produce wins, there may be boos in Bankers Life Fieldhouse very, very soon whenever the NBA resumes and there will be fans allowed in the stands. I know, well, if the NBA allows, I know the state of Indiana will allow it, just all if the NBA allows it. I know if there's fans there, you may get booed. Why? We're tired of losing. We're tired of being second fiddle. We're tired of being fourth, fifth, or sixth seed and not going anywhere in the playoffs when the Pacers have the talent to do so. Do what Nate McMillan couldn't do. Win a series. Do what Frank Vogel didn't do. Probably could have, but just didn't do. Get to the finals. And then do what no other coach has done for the Pacers in the NBA. That is get to the finals and win the NBA championship. Because Pacers fans, Pacers players want to bring back the Larry O.B. And we're hoping you push us and you allow us to, you coach the players in the right way to do so. Another thing Pacers fans want, or Indiana sports fans want, as well as many other people around the country that are football fans that they want, that is more doubleheaders on Monday Night Football. I understand that all our lives, Monday Night Football, 8 or 8:30, 8:20, whatever that kickoff is going to be, whenever the coverage starts, then they roll to whoever is broadcasting the game, no matter if it's Steve Levy or Joey Tess or Sean McDonough or Mike Tirico or whoever it was back in the day. We all know that there are those times that when Monday Night Football comes on, it is that game. But also, with 2020 being a weird year and how things are being different right now, one thing I will say is the ability for there will be a time that there will be Monday Night Football doubleheaders in 2020. This could be a trend that we could see from here on out. Now, you think of networks. Will it be all ESPN? Will it be a CBS and then an ESPN doubleheader? Will it be a Fox or then ESPN doubleheader? Will it be some streaming service that has their own broadcasters that broadcast the game on a network television and also via their streaming service? I know that's not really likely, but how will that go? I don't know. I personally don't know how that's going to be, but I will say this. The football fan in me loves it. Loves every second of it. The NBA, however, they'll strongly dislike it. Even though the NBA doesn't normally do Monday night primetime games, especially on ESPN, they don't, because when the NBA is on and it's Monday Night Football, as the NBA quickly found out during the NBA Finals and NBA playoffs, your ratings may be down like everybody else's, but you can't compete with football. National Football League or college football. You can't compete at all. A doubleheader in any sport brings about a certain level of anticipation, some say a certain level of anxiety, because if you're watching your team, let's say this scenario, your team is the second of a doubleheader. When you're watching that first game with a certain level of anxiety, your adrenaline may be pumping, a certain level of anticipation. Why? Because you're just hoping, hey, in this game quickly, don't go into overtime, don't prolong the game because I want to watch my team. And so you're already more in tune to the first game because your team is playing next. If your team's not playing, you're sitting here like, oh, okay, it's kind of like a 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock thing on Sundays. 1 o'clock, my team's not playing. We play Sunday night. So I can sit back in my chair. I can't sit back right now because you won't be able to hear me. In my chair, I'm leaning forward currently. But you'll lean back in your chair, cross your arms, maybe kick your feet up. Get a little relaxation, a little R&R going on, rest and relaxation, so that when the time comes for your team to play, you're like, oh, okay, cool. I got a little appetizer, and now it's time for the main dish. But when you're a football fan, a casual fan, or just a fan of football, but your team's not playing, your main dish is double the size. But it's not something that's going to put you in a food coma or something that's going to give you the itis, like things that happen that you eat on Thanksgiving, which will be coming up very, very soon. And about, my goodness, Thanksgiving's a month away? Hold on. Today's the 26th. I'm sorry. This was not planned. Wow. Thanksgiving is literally a month away on November the 26th. Wow. This year's going by really, really fast. Oh, my goodness. I keep thinking I got to make plans for Thanksgiving. I did not realize Thanksgiving was actually a month away. But where was I? I forgot my train of thought. When you have the main dish, when you know the main dish is up, if you could get double and get no food coma, then you know on Thanksgiving, wow, still baffles my mind, it's a month away. You know on Thanksgiving, when that time period comes, no, if it's that baked turkey, if it's a fried turkey, if you have chicken wings like my family does, or if you have catfish like my cousin cooks every year on, not catfish, a seafood spread like she does every year on Thanksgiving, whatever it is, whatever kind of food you're eating, when you realize I can eat double and I have the itis, or not have a food coma. If you don't know what the itis is, I'm not going to explain it to you right now. Hit the Google. The Google will lead you to the Urban Dictionary, and you will be able to figure out what the itis is, and it will describe how you feel after eating your Thanksgiving meal, because you're trying to watch football, and your eyes are trying to watch the back of your eyelids. But the double course, if you get the double dish with no issues at all, as far as falling asleep or coma or anything like that, you would get it. And I think what you're going to find is ESPN could be the normal 8:30 or 8:20 game. You can have a West Coast, East Coast thing, or you can have an East Coast thing, or whatever style of, or whatever you want for that weekend's or that Monday's game. Also, it allows more broadcasters to be featured. We know we saw Joe Buck do a Sunday, Monday, and then did a 7-day straight between football and baseball as far as him broadcasting games. I wish more broadcasters would do stuff like that. I know it's very, very difficult to prepare for multiple sports like that, as well as you're preparing for back-to-back football games. You know, the active roster has 53 players, but I believe 46 can actually dress. Think about how many players that is. I believe that's 92 players. 92 players. I think it's 92 180 players you're preparing for in any given time period. If you go back to back, and that's quick math, it could be off, but I'll leave my quick math is correct. So much could happen. 184. I think it's 184. Hopefully that math. I got a shot doing math in my head off the top of my head, so I could be right, could be wrong, but I think it's 184. So you have all those things going on. Then you're preparing for the biggest series in the baseball season. You kill it like you always do. We're finding out broadcasters are way more versatile than you think they are, basically because the networks a lot of times try to keep them and hold them into like one thing for them at that time. A Monday night doubleheader would be great. Will we see it every year? I don't know. I don't think so, but I think you could get Monday night doubleheaders sprinkled throughout the season as long as the National Football League and these networks can find broadcasters to do both. Kevin Harlan, another one. He does a game on Sunday, either 1 or 4, and then he calls Monday Night Football via radio with Kurt Warner every Monday night. Also calls the Super Bowl every year via the radio. It's not easy, guys, but a lot of the tough things that happen that are not easy. There are guys that are ready for the task to knock it out of the park. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Jay Stevens Podcast. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at jstevens07. If you have an email to send that email to jstevenspod@gmail.com. Remember to always subscribe, rate, and review. It's a great way for people that are searching for a new podcast to listen to come across this one. Then remember to always get the word out about the podcast via word of mouth. The things that we enjoy in life, we are more willing and somewhat wired to tell other people about. So no matter if this was your first episode or if you have been listening since episode number 1, be sure to let people know about the podcast. This has been episode 146 of the Jay Stevens Podcast. I'll see you next time.